Hi, welcome to today's chemistry lesson on isotopes. Last lesson we learned about the history of the atom. One scientist we discussed, John Dalton, came up with an atomic theory of matter. Let's jot down one of his principles. Again, his name is John Dalton. One of the principles said, all atoms of an element are identical. All atoms of an element are identical. I regret to tell you that, my friends, is false. We now know that is not the case. Let's look at a picture or two to show you what I mean. This first picture we're looking at here, as you analyze the captions, notice that they're all showing you the element hydrogen. And there are 1, 2, 3 different atoms, all of them representing hydrogen. When you look at those pictures, they are not identical. However, they really are all representing the element hydrogen. Let's look at another example. Picture number 2 here. Looking at the caption, we can see that we're trying to represent the element oxygen. When you look at the picture, they look kind of similar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 electrons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 electrons on both the left and right image. They both have this 8p in the middle, but 8n is different. As you can see from this second picture, here's where we come up with the name of isotope. Let's jot down the definition of an isotope. So John Dalton's theory is false because of the existence of isotopes. Isotopes are atoms of an element that have the same and we'll put a blank for a moment, and different blank. Let's go back to the pictures and see if we can fill in these two blanks. Isotopes are atoms of an element that have the same blank and different blank. Let's look at the pictures and find out what's the same, focusing on this first example with hydrogen. In each of these 3 pictures, there's one thing that's the same. It's the number of blue spheres that they have in this nucleus, which would represent the number of protons. As you look at the second example with the oxygen, again, what's the same about them is that they have 8 protons in the nucleus. Going back to our definition, atoms of an element that have the same number of protons and now we have to figure out what's different about them. Let's look at the pictures again. Picture of hydrogen, which was our yellow box here. What is different? The number of red spheres that they have in the nucleus. The red spheres are meant to represent the lowercase n, which are neutrons. When you're looking at the second example, again, what's different is their number of neutrons. So let's add that to our definition. They have different number of neutrons. So let's read the definition of an isotope all together now. Isotopes are atoms of an element that have the same number of protons and different number of neutrons. Definitely easy when you have images that you can look at, but there's got to be a better way for us to figure this out, because ultimately what we're going to have to do is work backwards. I'm going to be giving you atoms to work with, and you're going to have to instinctively know how many protons, how many neutrons, and how many electrons there are. Well, let's go back to our first example of hydrogen here in this yellow box. Hydrogen is an element on the periodic table. If we were to look on the periodic table at hydrogen's box, we would notice that it has the number 1 in it. If we were to look at our second example of oxygen in the orange box and find where it's positioned on the periodic table, we would see in oxygen's box it has the whole number of 8. Those numbers are referred to as the atomic number. The atomic number of an element tells the number of protons. Let me say that again. The atomic number of an element tells the number of protons. So looking at our two visuals, the element hydrogen is atomic number 1. It has 1 proton or blue sphere in all of the nuclei of those 3 atoms that represent hydrogen. When we look at the example for oxygen, oxygen's atomic number is 8. There are 8 protons in both of the isotopes of oxygen. So based on this definition, isotopes are atoms of an element that have the same number of protons. We always know the number of protons by looking at the atomic number of the element. Let's look at the pictures a little bit more carefully. Piggybacking on the concept of what's the same. As you're looking at the pictures, you're probably telling me, oh, wait a minute, I see one other thing that's the same. When I look at the pictures for hydrogen, again, here we are, they also have 1 electron in the electron shell. That's something that all 3 of these pictures have the same of. And when we look at the picture for oxygen, we did the counting. We counted that there were 8 electrons in the picture on the left and 8 electrons in the picture on the right. The number of protons and the number of electrons are equal only when we're talking about an atom. Let's write that fun fact down. The number of electrons, a lowercase e with a negative sign is how we abbreviate electrons, equals the number of protons only when we have an atom. And that's because atoms are electrically neutral. In other words, the negative charge and the positive charge have to cancel each other out. So every time you hear the word atom, you automatically know you're talking about a neutral compound. Your negative and your positive have to balance out. Number of electrons equal number of protons. We do have the situation where we have ions. And in that instance, our electrons are not equal to our protons. An ion is a particle with a charge. An ion is a particle with a charge. If you remember from a previous science class, there are 2 kinds of charges that we can have. We can either have a positive charge or we can have a negative charge. The particle with a positive charge is given the vocabulary word cation. I know based upon our English language, when words end in the letters T-I-O-N, we're supposed to pronounce it shun. However, because we're talking about an ion, the root here is just that, ion. And what comes before it is the word cat. So we pronounce it cation. The particle with a negative charge is called an anion. Now this overall charge comes from the fact that our electrons are not equal to our protons. Well, electrons are negative, protons are positive, so knowing that if our overall particle has to have a positive charge, that means the number of electrons must be less than the number of protons in a cation, because we need our positive charge to dominate. In an anion, the reverse is true. The number of electrons have to be greater than the number of protons in order for the negative charge to dominate in an anion. That brings us to the final part of the atom. What was different? So what was different in all of our examples of isotopes here was the number of neutrons. And that's not something that is directly given to us in terms of information on the periodic table. What we have to do is look at the most massive part of our atom, and that would be the nucleus. When you're looking at the picture of an atom, which we've got here in our third image, the most massive or the most dense region is going to be our nucleus. And in the nucleus are our protons and our neutrons. Well, I already know that I'm going to recognize the number of protons by looking at the atomic number. I know that I'm going to be able to tell how many electrons are in the cloud based upon the charge. So we must be able to only find the neutrons by looking at the nucleus, which is the most massive region. And the nucleus is going to be described by what's referred to as the mass number. The mass number is telling us the number of protons plus neutrons that are in the nucleus of the atom. So to figure out the neutron, we need to take what's the overall mass of the particle, in other words, the mass number, and subtract from that the atomic number. Let me try to phrase that in a different way. If the mass number tells me the total number of particles in my nucleus, and I know that the atomic number tells me the number of protons, if I take the total number of particles and subtract just the protons out, the difference, or what's left behind, will be my neutron. And we summarize this with a notation that I refer to as the WXYZ notation. The WXYZ notation. Information in the W spot will always be the element's symbol. And we get that from the periodic table if it's not something that you've already got memorized. Information in the Y position is the atomic number. Now, sometimes this is left blank. If it is, we have the favorite tool of chemists, the periodic table, and that will always tell me what the atomic number is, especially when I know the element symbol. So the atomic number and the element symbol will always go hand in hand, just like I drew for you here in our notes earlier, the examples of oxygen and hydrogen. So that leaves us with information in the X and the Z position. Information in the X is our mass number. That's going to tell us how massive the nucleus is, and that's really how our atoms are described, and I'll show you an example of it in just a moment. And finally, information in the Z position is information about the charge of the particle. So let's take this WXYZ notation and put it into use. Here's an example. The way we read this is copper. We always say the name of the element first, and then we're going to say what its mass number is. So this is the copper 63 atom. That's how we say it. Now, sometimes it's also written with the element symbol. Cu is the element symbol for copper, dash 63. That notation and this WXYZ notation mean the same thing. They both mean the copper 63 atom. So from this notation alone, you are going to be expected to be able to tell me how many protons, how many neutrons, and how many electrons are in this particle. You got that right. Just by looking at this, you are going to have to start to know the number of subatomic particles that are present. Where do we begin? Bing, 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 bing. We're always going to start at our atomic number. because the atomic number always tells us one of our three particles. You're right, it always tells us the number of protons. So there are 29 protons in this particle. The next spot I tend to like to go to is information in the charge position. But there's no information there. Oh, if there's no information, what kind of charge must there be? No charge. No info means no charge. Something that has no charge is neutral. Something that's neutral has the positive and the negative canceling each other out. So if I know that we have 29 positive particles, because a proton is positive, now I know that there are 29 electrons, which are negative. They've got to cancel each other out because there's no charge on this particle. So that leaves me with this final number of 63. The number in the top left is our mass number. That's telling me how massive the nucleus is. And the nucleus contains protons and neutrons. So if 63 total particles are in the nucleus, and I know that 29 of them are protons, the difference must be the neutrons. So 63 minus 29. 34. There are 34 neutrons in this particle. Yeah, totally doable. You're right. Let's try one more example together. Again, from this symbol alone, you are expected to be able to tell the number of protons, neutrons, and electrons in the particle. Where do we start? Yep, atomic number. Because the atomic number always tells us the number of protons. The next place I like to go is to the charge. The charge is positive, which means this is a cation. And the only way that I can get a positive charge is if my positive particles outnumber my negative particles. They have to dominate. Do I know how many positive particles we have? Yep, we've got 12 of them. So I know the number 12 has to be greater than the number of electrons that are present. How much greater? Well, that's where the magnitude of the charge comes in. 12 has to be 2 times more, well, not 2 times, please pardon me, not 2 times, just 2 more particles than the number of electrons. So there must be 10 electrons. That's the only number possible where 12 can be 2 more than it. So there are 10 electrons. And then finally, my neutrons comes from my mass number. There are 22 total particles in the nucleus. 12 of those 22 are protons. The remainder are my neutrons. I hope you've enjoyed today's lesson. Please go into the Google Classroom and try the practice worksheet and let me know if you have any questions.